The cafe buzzed with the morning rush. Emma stood behind the counter, hands trembling. Her first day as cashier felt overwhelming. A man in a tailored suit approached. His presence commanded the entire room silently. He placed a sleek briefcase on the counter. "Large black coffee," he said, his voice flat. "And make it quick. I have a meeting." Emma's fingers fumbled with the register buttons. The machine beeped, rejecting her entry again. She felt her cheeks flush with embarrassment. "I'm so sorry, sir. Just one moment," she whispered, her voice catching slightly. The man sighed, glancing at his watch impatiently. Behind him, a line was forming rapidly. Emma could feel their eyes burning into her. She tried the transaction again, carefully this time. The register finally accepted it, displaying the total. But something caught her eye. Something wasn't right. "Sir," Emma said softly, looking up at him, "that's the wrong trick you're trying to pull." The man's expression froze. His jaw tightened noticeably. The entire cafe seemed to hold its breath. "Excuse me?" he said, his voice dangerously quiet. Emma's hands shook, but she pointed at his card. "This card, it's expired, sir. You're using it to avoid the meeting. I can see it in your eyes." His name was Richard Montgomery, CEO of Montgomery Industries, 58 years old, billions in the bank. Today, he was supposed to finalize a $200 million deal. But Richard didn't want to go to that meeting. The deal would save his company, yes, but it meant partnering with someone who destroyed his father's company 30 years ago. So he'd grabbed an expired card on purpose, a small act of self-sabotage, hoping the universe would give him an out. And now this young cashier had called him out. Richard stared at her for a long moment. "How did you—" he started, then stopped himself. Emma set down the card gently between them. "My father used to do the same thing. When he didn't want to face something difficult, he'd forget his wallet or use the wrong card." Her voice cracked slightly, but she continued steadily. "He died 3 years ago. Heart attack. He'd been avoiding his doctor for 6 months." Richard felt something shift inside his chest suddenly. He looked at this girl, really looked at her. She couldn't be more than 25 years old. "I'm sorry," he said quietly, and he meant it. "About your father. That must have been difficult." Emma nodded, wiping her eyes quickly with her sleeve. "It was. But I learned something important from losing him. Running away doesn't change what we fear most. It just delays the inevitable pain we'll feel." Richard pulled out a different card, the correct one. But he didn't hand it over right away. "What's your name?" he asked, his voice much softer now. "Emma Carter," she replied, managing a small smile. "Well, Emma Carter, you're either incredibly intuitive or incredibly reckless. Do you always psychoanalyze your customers like this?" Emma laughed nervously, shaking her head back and forth. "No, sir. Today's actually my first day here. I probably just got myself fired already, didn't I?" Richard smiled for the first time that morning. A real smile, not the corporate mask. No, I don't think you did at all." As she handed him his coffee, their hands touched. "That meeting you're avoiding, Emma," she said quietly, "is it really worse than living with regret? My father taught me that too, through his absence." Richard held the coffee cup, feeling its warmth. "It's complicated," he finally said. "The deal would save thousands of jobs, Emma, but it means partnering with someone who destroyed my father's company 30 years ago." Emma's eyes filled with understanding and compassion. "That is complicated," she agreed softly. "But maybe it's about honoring the past by protecting the future." "You're wise beyond your years," Richard said, shaking his head. "How did someone so young learn such lessons?" Emma's smile was sad but warm and genuine. "Loss teaches us quickly, sir.
Grief is the fastest teacher we'll ever have.
Can I ask you something? Emma said suddenly. If your father were here right now, what would he tell you to do? The question hit Richard like a physical blow. He closed his eyes, remembering his father's face, the gentle eyes, the steady hands. He'd tell me, Richard said, his voice thick, that pride is expensive, but people's livelihoods, those are priceless. He'd tell me to swallow my ego. Emma nodded, understanding, lighting up her expression. Then maybe that's your answer, sir. Maybe he's still guiding you, even now. Richard felt tears prick his eyes unexpectedly. Thank you, he whispered. You have no idea what you've given me. Richard walked toward the door, then paused suddenly. He turned back, looking at Emma once more. Emma, he called out across the cafe, come to Montgomery Tower at 2 o'clock. I want you there when I sign this. Emma's eyes widened in shock and surprise. Sir, I can't. I have my shift. I'll handle it, Richard said firmly but gently. You helped me see something crucial today. You should witness what comes from that kindness. At 2 o'clock, Emma stood nervously in the lobby. The building towered above her intimidatingly. The doors opened to reveal a massive boardroom. 20 people sat around a mahogany table. Richard stood at the head, looking distinguished. When he saw Emma, his face transformed completely. The tension in his shoulders released visibly. Gentlemen, Richard announced clearly, before we proceed, I'd like to introduce someone special. This is Emma Carter. This morning she reminded me why we're here. Not for pride, not for revenge, for people. The man across from Richard spoke up coldly. Montgomery, what is this? Some theatrical stunt? No, Harrison, Richard said steadily. This is a reminder. 30 years ago, you destroyed my father's company. I've hated you for 3 decades now. Harrison's expression remained impassive. And yet here we are. Yes, Richard continued, his voice growing stronger. Yes, here we are. Because this deal isn't about us. It's about 3,000 employees who need jobs. It's about families who need paychecks tomorrow. He looked at Emma, his eyes grateful. Someone very wise reminded me of that today. Someone who understands what truly matters in life. The signing took 20 minutes of silence. Papers passed around the table carefully. When it was done, Richard extended his hand. Harrison stared at it, then stood slowly. They shook hands firmly. Your father would have been proud, Harrison said quietly. Not of me, but of you, Montgomery. After the meeting, Richard found Emma by the window. She was staring at the city below. You came, he said softly. I wasn't sure you would show up. Emma turned, her eyes shining with tears. I had to see it, had to know if my words mattered. They made all the difference, Richard said earnestly. Emma, you saved more than a deal today. You saved me from becoming someone bitter and angry. He reached into his jacket and pulled something out. A business card with handwriting on the back. I want you to have this. It's my personal number. If you ever need anything, a job, a reference, someone to talk, you call me. Promise me? Emma looked at the card, then at him. I don't know what to say. Say you'll keep being exactly who you are. The world needs more people like you. Years later, Emma graduated with honors from university. Richard sat in the audience clapping the loudest. Afterwards, they stood together in the sunshine. Remember that morning? Emma said, smiling at the memory, when you told me that you were using the wrong trick? Richard chuckled, shaking his head fondly. "How could I forget? You terrified me and changed my life in one moment." Emma looked at him seriously but warmly. "You changed mine too. You showed me that kindness creates ripples everywhere." Richard put a hand on her shoulder gently. "Your father would be incredibly proud, Emma. I know I am." Emma felt tears roll down her cheeks freely, but they were happy tears this time, healing tears. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice full of gratitude, "for seeing me, for listening that day." The cafe buzzed with the morning rush again, but Emma no longer worked behind that counter. She was across the street in a corner office, assistant director of community outreach at Montgomery Industries. Every day she helped people the way Richard helped her, with kindness, with second chances. And sometimes, when she needed reminding, she'd think back to that morning, to the trembling hands, the expired card, the honest words that changed two lives forever. "That's the wrong trick," she'd said to a stranger, but really, she'd spoken truth to herself too. Running away was never the answer. Facing fear with kindness, that was the real trick. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share, subscribe, and comment.